Stepson accuses me of being a gold digger, even though I support his father in paying all the expenses. I, 42F, have been married to my husband Henry, 45M, for 4 years. He has a 19-year-old son, Levi, from a previous marriage. When Henry and I first got together, he was going through an extremely difficult time after unexpectedly losing his job of 15 years. His confidence and self-worth were pretty low, and his low savings had been wrecked by a long, messy divorce from Levi's mother. I couldn't bear to watch the man I loved suffering so much. After only a brief discussion, I insisted Henry move into my house so he could get back on his feet without the stress of rent. I helped pay off the mountain of debts he had accrued, bought him a used but reliable car so he could get to job interviews, and made certain he never once missed a child support payment to Levi's mom when Levi lived with her. It wasn't a handout, but an investment in building a future together as partners. Even after Henry eventually found steady work again, I continued paying the lion's share of our living expenses since I had a lucrative career as a senior marketing executive. I never once resented Henry for this arrangement. We were a team in my eyes, and I knew he deeply appreciated all I did to keep us afloat during those tough years. Henry was a proud man, someone who believed strongly in being a provider, but he swallowed that pride and accepted my help so we could build a strong relationship and maintain stability for Levi. However, his teenage son Levi took an immediate and intense disliking to me from the moment I entered their lives. He fiercely resented my presence when he was already angry and feeling displaced after his parents' divorce. At 15, Levi was in the throes of adolescent angst and anger and desperately needed a target for those roiling emotions. I became that target, the home-wrecking gold digger he accused of trying to replace his saintly mother and the gold-digging woman he was convinced had trapped his father in her clutches. It wasn't that bad at first, because he only came over during the weekends. But when Levi turned 17, his mother moved to Jamaica to live with her family there, and Levi totally refused to go with her. He had a distorted view of African countries despite being half African. Henry didn't seem to mind, agreeing that his son couldn't possibly live in the backwaters of Jamaica. When Levi first moved in, I tried to show him the beauty of his culture in Jamaica. Google was free, and Henry's foolishness and encouraging his dislike for his home country disgusted me. But Levi took my interest in showing him information about Jamaica as an attempt to get him to leave. I swear it was not. After a major argument where he threw our boiling hot dinner in my face, I stopped refusing to mention Jamaica or his mother anymore. As the years passed, no matter how hard I tried to forge a connection with my new stepson, Levi violently rejected every olive branch. I learned to cook all his favorite comfort meals, showed up to cheer myself hoarse from the bleachers at his basketball games, and spent countless patient hours helping him navigate the college application process. But he just pushed me away harder with each attempt. "You're not my damn mom, you're just the woman spending my dad's money," Levi would sneer at me, cruelly ignoring the fact that his father was only scraping by because of my steady paycheck. Henry hated any sort of conflict, and while he certainly didn't approve of Levi's blatant disrespect, his tiny attempts at discipline were a simple, "Hey now, Levi, be nice to your stepmom." As you can guess, it did little to curb his son's vicious behavior. I think any criticism of Levi that I brought up felt like rubbing salt in the wound of Henry's own perceived failure of being a terrible provider for his child, so I picked my battles carefully, biting my tongue until it bled to keep a fragile peace, even as Levi's put-downs grew worse. When Levi turned 18 and finished high school, I thought it was time he started paying some type of rent if he wanted to continue living at home. To be clear, my home, his father agreed, and we charged him a pittance compared to market rates for our area. We hoped taking on the small responsibility would help Levi start maturing into an adult. Instead, our request was met with a temper tantrum, as Levi insisted it was my house, so I should be covering all his expenses to stay with his dad. To be fair, he worked a few hours a week at a part-time minimum wage job, but blew every cent of his tiny paycheck on the latest video games and weed. After several long months of Levi shirking even the most basic household chores, skipping out on his cheap rent, coming home at all hours reeking of pot, and hurling a constant litany of insults my way, I was truly at my wit's end. But his disrespect to me reached a new, unimaginable height last Tuesday. I was frantically scrambling to get ready and out the door for the biggest meeting of my career, a critical pitch to land a massive new client that my marketing firm had been looking into for months. I needed to get to the office at least an hour early to prepare my presentation. Rushing out to my car, my stomach dropped through the floor when I saw my normally spotless vehicle completely covered in smashed eggs and dripping rolls of toilet paper across the windshield. "Gold digger" was scrawled in shaving cream. Then, as I drew closer in horrified disbelief, I noticed that all 4 of my tires had been slashed. Levi stood off to the side with his arms smugly folded, openly smirking at his vile handiwork. I saw nothing but red. Years' worth of repressed resentment came flooding out of me in an uncontrollable torrent of screams and anger. I tore into Levi, calling him every variation of an ungrateful, lazy, spoiled brat that my mind could make. I raged at the sheer audacity of him constantly disrespecting me when I worked myself to the bone to fund his freeloading lifestyle and keep a roof over his father's head. I was absolutely done walking on eggshells in my own home, and it was high time for him to grow the hell up and join the real world. I gave him 30 days to find himself a new place to live, telling him that I am not his personal ATM anymore and that I'm sure as hell finished putting up with being disrespected and degraded in the house I pay for. I gave him the ultimatum while shaking with blinding rage before storming back inside to frantically call a cab to get me to my meeting. By the time I managed to clean myself up and rush to my meeting, I was nearly 30 minutes late and still completely out of it. My pitch was mediocre at best, and the clients just stared at me with cold skepticism. I left the meeting unsure if I had managed to salvage the deal. Back at home, Henry tried to talk me down, insisting that while Levi's destructive vandalism was totally uncalled for, I had flown off the handle and gone way too far in my reaction. He pleaded with me to be the bigger person, reminding me that this was still Levi's home too, and that we couldn't just throw him to the curb. Deep down, I knew Henry was terrified of pushing his son away for good, but I held firm to my position. I was utterly done tolerating such blatant abuse and disrespect from Levi. I told Henry his son needed to face real adult consequences for his actions, or he'd never learn. Henry then told me that if I kicked his son out, he'd leave with him. It devastated me that my husband refused to present a united front or understand that I was being bullied in my own home by his son. Henry refused to sleep in the same bed with me that night, and it broke me. I am convinced I have just destroyed my marriage by drawing such a hard line, but I can't see any other choice. So read it. It's okay to be harsh. Just let me know. Am I really the jerk here? Update 1. Wow, I didn't expect this to blow up like it did. Thank you to everyone who took the time to read and comment, even if we didn't always agree. I figured I'd post an update to clear some things up and give more context. A lot of you asked about our financial situation. To be clear, the house is 100% in my name. I bought it before I even met Henry. The car I got him is also in my name, but I don't even care about that. He needs it more than I do. As for our bills, I've been paying the mortgage, utilities, groceries, and Levi's expenses like clothes and school stuff. Henry chips in when he can, but it doesn't even cover half the costs. I've never thrown it in his face, though, because that's just not me. Some of you said I should have set firmer boundaries with Levi from the start. You're probably right. I guess I just wanted him to like me so badly that I let too much slide. I didn't want to overstep since I'm not his real mom, you know? But I see now that I should have demanded basic respect from day one. A few people asked why Henry can't get a better-paying job. The truth is, he's always struggled with work even before we met. He has some health issues that make it hard for him to do manual labor, and he never finished college. But he's a good man and a hard worker when he's given a chance. I just wish he'd stand up for me more. Oh, and for those saying I should just kick Levi out already, trust me, I've been tempted, but he's still Henry's son, and I could never put that wedge in their relationship. My hope was always that we could work through this as a family. Reading all your responses made me realize this situation is even more messed up than I thought. I've been so focused on keeping the peace that I've let myself become a punching bag. That ends now. I'm going to have a serious talk with Henry tonight. Either he backs me up in setting clear rules and expectations for Levi, or I'm done being disrespected in my own home. Wish me luck. I'll keep you posted. Update 2. Hey everyone, I'm back with another update. I wish I had better news. I sat down with Henry like I said I would. I laid it all out, how Levi's behavior was totally unacceptable, how I couldn't keep living like this, and how I needed his support in setting boundaries. At first, he seemed to get it. He agreed that Levi had crossed a line and promised to talk to him. But then Levi got home and the conversation went sideways fast. He started in on his usual crap about how I'm not his mom, how I'm ruining his life, yada yada. I kept my cool and firmly told him his options, either shape up and start contributing to the household or find somewhere else to live. Well, apparently that was the wrong thing to say. Levi lost it, saying he couldn't believe his dad was letting some expletive kick him out of his own house. I looked to Henry, expecting him to take my side like we agreed, and that spineless man just sat there staring at the floor. I snapped. I told Levi it was my house, my rules, and if he didn't like it, there was the door. He stormed out, screaming about how he was leaving and never coming back and that we'd regret this. Good riddance, but it wasn't over. Henry laid into me, saying I had no right to kick out his son and that I was tearing apart his family. I reminded him that I was his family too, or supposed to be. He said he couldn't deal with this right now and left. I don't know what to do still. I'll keep you guys updated. Update 3. So my last update was 2 days ago. Henry has been crashing at a friend's, ignoring my texts. Meanwhile, Levi's been blowing up his phone, playing the victim. I feel like I'm at my wit's end. There's a part of me that just wants to give in, to swallow my pride and beg them to come back home. I long for things to go back to how they were, even if it means keeping my head down and my mouth shut just to maintain this illusion of a happy family. But there's something I haven't shared with you all, something I've kept hidden out of fear and embarrassment. You see, I have PCOS, polycystic ovary syndrome. It's a condition that affects so many aspects of my life, but most importantly, it makes conceiving a child naturally a real challenge. I've always dreamed of being a mother, of holding a little piece of myself in my arms. But with each passing year and negative pregnancy test, that dream has felt more and more out of reach. When Henry brought Levi into my life, it was like a beacon of hope in my struggle with infertility. Here was this beautiful, intelligent boy who needed a mother's love. I guess a part of me clung to him as my chance at motherhood, even if he didn't share my blood. I poured all the love and nurturing I had into him, hoping that maybe, just maybe, he could fill that aching void in my heart. I was afraid that if people knew about my condition, they would side with Henry, see me as less of a woman, or less worthy of being a parent. I worried they'd think I was using Levi as a substitute for the child I couldn't have on my own. But the truth is, my love for Levi was never a replacement or a consolation prize. It was real, fierce, and unconditional, the way a mother's love should be. Even now, after all the heartache and disrespect, those maternal feelings haven't wavered. When I tell you I love Levi like my own, I mean it with every fiber of my being. Letting him go, drawing these boundaries, it feels like I'm ripping out a part of myself. The thought of losing him, of losing this chance at being a mom, is almost too much to bear. But I also know that I can't keep living like this. I can't keep sacrificing my own well-being and self-respect for the scraps of affection they toss my way. PCOS may have made my path to motherhood more difficult, but it doesn't make me any less deserving of love and respect from my partner and my would-be child. So, as much as it hurts, as much as I want to cling to this dream of family I've built in my head, I know I need to stand my ground, for my own sake and for the sake of any future children I may have, whether they come from my own body or through the boundless love in my heart. I need to show them that it's okay to demand respect, to set boundaries, and to walk away from those who can't give us the love we deserve. I don't know what the future holds. I don't know if I'll ever get to be a mom or if Henry and Levi will ever truly see and appreciate all I've given them. A bigger part of me is just damn tired. Tired of being taken for granted, disrespected, and treated like an outsider in my own life. So now, I'm sitting here alone in the house I paid for, wondering where to go from here. I know I was hard on Levi, but what choice did I have? I love Henry, but I'm losing respect for him by the minute. Why am I fighting so hard for people who clearly don't give a damn about me? I don't know what the future holds. All I know is I deserve better than this. I deserve peace in my own home. I deserve a partner who stands by me. I'm done setting myself on fire to keep others warm. Thank you for letting me vent and for all the tough love and support. I'll post a final update when I figure out my next steps. I know it's going to be hard, but I have to start putting myself first. They're welcome back if they can get with the program, but I will no longer set myself on fire to keep them warm. Update 4. Well, it's been a hell of a ride. First off, I want to say how much all of your comments and messages have meant to me, even the tough ones. You've given me a lot to think about. It's been a few weeks since everything blew up. Henry stayed away for about a week, ignoring my attempts to reach out. I was starting to think it was really over, but then he showed up at the door, tired and sheepish. We had a long, brutal talk, probably the most honest we've ever been with each other. He admitted that he'd been avoiding confronting Levi because he was afraid of losing him like he lost his ex. And knowing it's hard for me to conceive, Levi could end up being his only child. But he said seeing me standing up for myself made him realize how much he had to lose with me, too. I told him I was done being the bad guy, done being disrespected and unappreciated. If we were going to make this work, things had to change. He agreed. As for Levi, he's still staying with friends. Henry laid down the law. If Levi wants to come back, he needs to get a job, pay rent, and treat me with basic human decency. No more freeloading or temper tantrums. We'll see if he steps up. I'm not going to lie. It still hurts. I poured my heart into this family, and a lot of days it feels like it was all for nothing. I know I can't change the past. All I can do is move forward with clearer boundaries and a stronger sense of self-worth. Henry and I are taking things day by day, rebuilding trust and figuring out what our new normal looks like. It's not perfect, but we're trying. He's picking up extra shifts and has started chipping in more around the house, baby steps. Talking about babies, I haven't been feeling too well even prior to the entire issue, so I took a pregnancy test 2 days ago. You know, those drugstore types. And it was positive, so yay! Henry is excited, but I told him to pipe down. Those tests are wrong sometimes. I don't know if the hesitation is for me or for him. He has scheduled a doctor's appointment for next week. Part of me doesn't want to go. What if the test comes out negative and I got our hopes up for nothing? Henry understands, and he's not pushing me to take the test, so I'm grateful for that. But I told him not to cancel the appointment while I try to build up courage to go for the test. Right now, to keep my mind off it, I'm focusing on my own happiness for once. I've taken up yoga to calm my mind. It's not helping, to be honest, but still, I have to wait. I think I'll ask Henry to push the test back by a week. I don't know, I'm just scared. But still, I guess what I've learned from all this is that you can't pour from an empty cup, and that setting boundaries isn't selfish. It's survival. I gave and gave until I had nothing left for myself. Never again. So that's where I'm at. Still very much a work in progress, but aren't we all? Of course, I know some of you will say I'm a chump for giving Henry another chance, and maybe I am, but I've got to do what feels right for me. I still love him, flaws and all. As long as I don't lose myself again, I think we've got a shot. Final update. Hey everyone, it's me again. I know it's been a while since my last update. A month, as a matter of fact. But a lot has happened in the past month, and I want to fill you all in. First off, thank you from the bottom of my heart for all your support and advice through this whole crazy situation. So where do I even start? I guess with the biggest news, as I already hinted at, I took a blood test to confirm it, and I'm truly pregnant. The doctor said everything looks good so far, but it'll be a high-risk pregnancy because of my age. I'm equal parts thrilled and terrified, but I'm taking it one day at a time. Henry is over the moon about the baby. I think it's really put things in perspective for him. He's been doting on me non-stop, waiting on me hand and foot. It's sweet, but I've had to remind him that I'm pregnant, not helpless. We've been talking a lot about the future and what kind of parents we want to be. We both agree that we want to raise our child in a loving, respectful home. No more walking on eggshells or tolerating bad behavior from anyone. Which brings me to Levi. After our big blow-up and him storming out, he couch-surfed with friends for a few weeks. Henry laid down the law and said he couldn't come back until he got a job, agreed to pay rent, and promised to treat me decently. Well, I guess that dose of the real world was the wake-up call Levi needed. He called Henry after a couple of weeks, crying and apologizing for everything. He said living on his own made him realize how much we'd done for him and how awful he'd been, especially to me. I was skeptical at first, but the kid really seems to have turned a corner. He got a full-time job at a warehouse, which he hates, but it's a paycheck. He's been giving us money for rent and groceries without us even asking, and he actually sat me down and gave me a sincere apology for all the crap he's put me through over the years. I could tell it wasn't easy for him to swallow his pride like that. We had a long talk about why he'd acted the way he did. A lot of it was hurt and anger over his parents' divorce that he unfairly took out on me. He said he knows that's no excuse and he wants to do better. I told him that I forgive him, but forgiveness doesn't mean a free pass to go back to old habits. He started joining us for dinner a few nights a week, and the atmosphere in the house is so different. There's no more tension crackling in the air. We're actually able to laugh and joke around together. The other night, he even offered to help me start setting up the nursery. I know we still have a long way to go, but it feels like a fresh start. I won't lie and say everything is perfect now. Levi still has his moments of teenage moodiness, and Henry and I don't always see eye to eye, but we're working through it as a family. And me? I'm finally putting myself first. I'm taking care of my body and my baby. I'm leaning on my friends and focusing on the things that bring me joy, like getting the nursery ready. For the first time in a long time, I wake up excited for the future. So that's where things stand. A month ago, I thought my whole world was falling apart. But now, with a baby on the way and my little family coming together, I've never felt more blessed. To all of you who followed my story and offered support, thank you truly. Your kindness has meant the world to me. Here's to new beginnings, second chances, and always standing up for ourselves. I'll raise my non-alcoholic glass to that. Cheers, friends.